doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Yeah. Could you let us know your understanding of the President's comments that he wants to resume nuclear testing after more than 30 years? Does he mean the warheads themselves, the distribution, the missiles, and so forth? What's your understanding of this intention?
Well, look, I'll answer that very briefly, but I really do want to focus on the shutdown that is affecting the American people. I think the president's truth speaks for itself. We have a big arsenal, obviously. The Russians have a large nuclear arsenal. The Chinese have a large nuclear arsenal. Sometimes you've got to test it to make sure that it's functioning and working properly. We've been working very closely, even with nations that we don't have the best relations with, to try to limit nuclear proliferation. The president's going to keep on working on that, but it's an important part of American national security to make sure that this nuclear arsenal we have actually functions properly, and that's part of a testing regime. To be clear, we know that it does work properly, but you got to keep on top of it over time, and the president just wants to make sure that we do that.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is a pleasure to meet you again and to meet you for the first time in my capacity as Prime Minister. I had the great pleasure of attending, amongst other meetings in China, the G20, over which you presided, at a time of great hope for the international system and great progress under the banner of the G20. I look forward to further progress with your presidency of APEC next year. As you mentioned, our countries have a long history of cooperation, engagement, and trade. 55 years of diplomatic relations marked the anniversary 2 weeks ago. In recent years, we have not been as engaged. In fact, as you know, this is the first formal meeting between the Canadian Prime Minister and the President of the People's Republic of China for 8 years. Distance is not the way to solve problems, not the way to serve our people with people-centric growth, as you have advocated. Pragmatic and constructive engagement is, and I welcome the momentum that has been established in recent months, meetings of our officials, meetings of ministers, and the meeting that I was able to have with Premier Li in New York. I also welcome the invitation to come to China to further the dialogue, and I very much look forward to doing so, because it's through this constructive and pragmatic dialogue that we will address a path for current issues, that we will establish a road to seize the many great opportunities between our countries, and also to have the platform that's needed for the dialogue to help build a more sustainable, inclusive international system.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the SCIF. I'm here in Podgorica, the capital of Montenegro, meeting with a lot of sources and also meeting with some of the Christian representatives here. I've got some cool pictures on my X account, Real L. Todd Wood on X, on some of the first Christian Cathedral Orthodox Church here in Podgorica about 1,000 years ago. So you can check that out. Want to say hello to the crew in the chat. Fantastic. You're already going. Love the comments. Keep the engagement up. It really drives the show. So thank you for that. Please sign up, or excuse me, please check out whatfinger.com. is a great aggregator site. They post a lot of our content, and we're very thankful. Later today, we'll be going to Belgrade, Serbia, and we'll be doing the same thing there, meeting with sources. There's a lot going on in Serbia, and also meeting with some of the Christian representatives as we travel the world, highlighting the plight of Christianity and the persecution of Christians around the world. We were just in Beirut, and there'll be a lot more coming on that, some announcements coming. By the way, we mentioned yesterday we have a press pass at the Pentagon. We're working on filling out all that paperwork. So we're excited. We're going to bring a lot of news from the Pentagon press room. Looking forward to that. So yesterday we dropped the show because the Wi-Fi just went kaput here in Montenegro, but we ended up uploading the full show. So you can find it if you missed it yesterday on Rumble, on YouTube, and the normal channels. We're also experiencing a lot of attacks. We are telling the truth, and we're starting to get a lot of attacks from the same old people who've been doing this for some time. So please support us. If you could make a donation, it's really key for us right now to get the resources in to continue what we're doing nationally and globally. So if you go to cdm.press, top menu, it says support us. It would be very helpful if you could make a donation and support our work globally on protecting Christians. You saw in the cold open, Israel is experiencing some demonstrations, large, massive demonstrations. In fact, one kid was killed because the demonstrators moved on a crane yesterday. A 15-year-old boy fell off and died. But this is the Orthodox Jews who are protesting against military service and the arrest of draft dodgers in Israel. The divisions in Israeli society are becoming more apparent. They've been somewhat suppressed. If you don't remember, back before the war several years ago in Gaza, before October 7th, this was a big deal. There was demonstrations almost daily in the streets against the Netanyahu government and his attempts at judicial reform. Then the war kicked off, and that kind of went quiet. But those divisions may be coming back out, so stay on that. You also saw Mark Carney, a leader of Canada, who is Canada is controlled by the CCP. They're a protectorate, and the government's completely infiltrated. And Carney's just talking to the boss there, and he's an actor going through the motions, we believe. And Canada looks lost to us. So we've got a full show today. We got Dan O'Shea, Commander O'Shea, former Navy SEAL, was big guy in Iraq during the Iraq War on hostage negotiations. We're going to talk about what's going on in Venezuela. So because I want to talk to some of my soft guys, special ops guys going forward on what's happening in Venezuela, and especially the role of special operations troops. You saw Task Force 160, the helicopter unit from the Army, the Special Operations Aviation Regiment for the U.S. Army. I used to work with those guys pretty closely, along with the SEALs, along with the Delta and other white and black soft assets. So I want to kind of educate people on what's happening with the soft community in this area, because they're going to be heavily involved. Then we've got Jonathan Goldstein, who is from Greenwich. He's been on the show before. And we're going to talk about the Druze community in southern Syria and in Israel and how that is playing out. It's really important there for the protections of Christians in that region. So that we're looking forward to. And then we've got a favorite, BKP's coming on the top of the second hour from Georgia to talk about what's happening in the great state of Georgia, the cartels, the politics, MTG, Burt Jones, all of it. So stay with us. We've got a lot to do today. We're going to get through it all. Then I got to run to the airport for Belgrade. Crazy travel schedule and everything else. So stay with us. We'll be right back on the SCIF.
Can I ask a question about the nicotine pouches?
Yes.
Does it melt in your mouth, or do you have to spit it out later?
You can spit it out, you can swallow it, or you just savor it. I mean, you throw it in like you would a dip of tobacco.
Okay.
But you just let it sit there, and then it suffuses your nervous system with life-giving nicotine. And it really does feel like the hand of God is massaging you.
But does it feel like the high of smoking a cigarette?
It's simultaneously, if you can imagine the Zen paradox, higher alertness accompanied by deep relaxation.
Wow.
So you really are, it's a Zen experience. You're like cat-like in your readiness, but you're fully
And how long does it last?
I always have one going. Sometimes if things are, if I need it, I'll put another one in. So I've got 18 milligrams of nicotine, but that gives me an unfair advantage.
You're banging 18 milligrams? Woo. That's impressive.
I don't like to, because everybody else kind of recedes into the background and I become this kind of colossus when I do that, and I feel guilty about it. Hubris is inevitable at that point. So I usually keep it to one.
I mean, I could use a new addiction.
Oh, yes.
What's the gateway drug level? What would you prescribe?
This sits between caffeine
We
and
sell a
cocaine.
3 milligram, but there's a transition, like all great addictions. Like, it's not instant. You do vomit at first, but then your body acclimates.
Wait is finally over. My towels are back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. Towels that actually work. What a concept. And that's not all. Check out our My Pillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regular $119.98, now only $29.88. And how about our limited edition premium My Pillows, made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset, made exclusively for you to thank you for all your support. Queens $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get My Towels for $39.98, My Pillow bed sheets only $29.88, and our limited edition My Pillow Queens $17.98 and Kings only $19.98. Quantities won't last long, so order now.
Welcome back to the SCIF. We're here on the ground in Podgorica, Montenegro, and heading to Belgrade, Serbia tonight. But I want to bring in my good friend and friend of the show, friend of CDM and AFP, Commander Dan O'Shea, former Navy SEAL, and big in Iraq on the hostage rescue negotiations back in the day. Commander, how you doing, Dan?
Todd, always a pleasure to join you in the SCIF, brother.
Really appreciate it, man. So I know you're on the road, and I know you just pulled over and got a good cell signal, so thank you for making the time for us today. I wanted to get you on because I'm trying to educate our audience on what our SOF brothers may be doing down in Latin America primarily, but I saw the 160th was active down there training it probably. What do you see happening in the special operations community right now?
Well, listen, obviously it's the first guys that go in anywhere are going to are the Brotherhood. We know now that it's, been announced, and it's actually, and your old command where you used to fly, it's always, whenever that asset is being deployed downrange, who the type of people are using, are going to be using that asset, that platform. So,
yeah,
it remains to be seen in terms of what's going to happen long term. I mean, obviously, we're not looking to get into another full-scale war. So this largely probably what's going to happen is going to be in the shadows, and it's going to be the special operations community. We've already put a huge presence with an aircraft battle group that's been shifted. And, we know the drone strikes and the strikes against the drug cartels. So I think we're going to see more of that escalation. I don't know, and I wouldn't even want to predict about the fact that we'd be putting troops on the ground yet, but we are definitely getting assets and doing intel collection in the region for sure.
Yeah, that's what I see. And I hope, I wrote an article this morning, I hope it doesn't go full scale because I don't think the American public really wants that. And a lot of the drugs aren't coming out of Venezuela. I think is more, there's another agenda here, probably the downfall of Maduro in that area. I think I might have lost Dan.
No, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. I shut off my navigation, so you want to keep hearing that in the background.
Well, let's move around the world. What do you hear from the community as far as in Eastern Europe? I know we're trying to get that thing wound down, but there's still activity, especially on the mercenary front in that area. Anything you're hearing from the guys?
No, I mean, listen, I was on the ground in Ukraine in the first 5 weeks of the conflict, and again, I don't think anyone predicted it would last this long. I think there's going to be a Saturday night surprise like we had with the Israeli hostage coming to a kind of a rapid conclusion with the negotiation that was done behind the scenes, and I'm hopeful that Trump, who's never going to get the Nobel Peace Prize, but will pull off another Sunday night special where things behind the scenes. I think he's going to do everything he can in his power to force Putin to the table and get a resolution. I know that and because right now it's just a meat grinder. I mean, the drone strikes are still happening. Soldiers are still getting killed. Russia has more bodies to throw at the problem, but it's been a meat grinder. So I'm hopeful that things are happening behind the scenes, where Trump will leverage things like no one else and force a resolution between Zelensky and Putin himself.
Well, you mentioned drones. As an operator on the ground and in the air, that's become a real threat, and it's something that I think the teams and others have to learn how to deal with. Is it just a shotgun, or what is there new technology coming?
Well, I just spent the last 2 days at a counterterrorism cyber symposium here in Miami. It was phenomenal. It was at Florida FAU. And the speakers, some of the talent pool, and it was heavy U.S., UK, Australian, and Canadian counterparts, heavy law enforcement, and a lot of cyber professionals. And one of the panelists was a 4-star retired general, Mike Murray. Never met him before. Very impressive guy. And he basically stated the reality, because drone was a big topic over the 2 days, that he said, we have to acknowledge that we cannot send any force, any unit, any element without them being detected with technology out there. So that changes the game. I mean, the fact that you have drones the size of your hand, that cost less than $200, are able to basically strike and take out virtually anyone on the battlefield, individual soldiers. And I think the longer term is with AI coming, you could strategically with a drone that could fit in the palm of your hand, you could take out strategic leadership, government and otherwise. So I don't think, and it's been on display in Ukraine, and the West is going to have to step up, because infiltration, which was your caveat when you're taking the boys in, knowing that now a handful of drones could take out an entire fleet of the best special operations birds, helicopter platforms the U.S. has to offer, and there'll be nothing we can do about it. It is literally going to change warfare.
Yeah, I'm thinking there needs to be some kind of, we had a lot of electronic countermeasures for infrared and for other types of seeker heads. Maybe there needs to be some kind of like short range EMP or something that can just, broadcast a signal to take out any navigation devices, or I don't know. I'm sure the tech guys will come up with something, but in that conference, did you hear any kind of what the technology may develop into?
No, but it's, a lot of very smart men and women in the room, and everyone, the topic of AI and the fears of AI. And one of the panels discussed, is AI going to be a good thing for humanity, or is it going to be the end of mankind, if you will? And I think the jury is still out, because, and that's just on the chat GPT side of the house.
Yeah.
But when you apply it to the drones and artificial intelligence, I think it's going to be an entirely new ball game, and I think the sky's going to be the limit.
So you're a defense contractor and obviously have clearances and everything, and I don't want to get into anything that you shouldn't talk about, but on a greater front, where do you see the defense community moving towards technologically?
Well, it's like, look at your community. You were in the Air Force, and what is the percentage now between pilots versus non-piloted drones, right? I mean, you've got guys that are now getting combat ribbons for fighting a war from what was it, Nellis Air Force Base out in Nevada for being drone pilots. And I think that whole resist, because Air Force is, you guys want to fly jets, but jets are going to become obsolete. We can put all the technology in a smaller size, J-22 or F-35, without having to put the human factor in it. Why wouldn't we do it? Because we could mass produce and do it cheaper with the same technology, and not have the human factor. And I think that's going to come what the Air Force is dealing with, I think that's what the Army and SCIF are going to have to deal with, because that is going to be the new reality, where you're going to be exposed at any point of an insertion to actions at the objective. And again, like you said, I'm not tracking the drone, counter drone, but I know that is a huge industry right now, because everyone's trying to come up with how do we counter the drone threat.
Yeah. What about in Latin America, Mexico more specifically? Any word on operations against the cartels, or any kind of training or anything like that?
Well, I do know that the only valid force were the Mexican Marines, and I know that NSW has gone down and done training missions. So there's been an ongoing relationship. And the challenge is finding who isn't corrupted in Mexico, right? Virtually,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the cartels, the Zetas, right? The Zetas were former special forces, Mexican special forces, who had been trained by U.S. special forces. And then they ended up becoming muscle for one of the cartels, and then splintered off and became their own cartel. So finding an honest broker in Mexico is half the challenge. But I think I think it's pretty clear with what we're doing and taking out those boats down in off the coast of Venezuela that they've got an entire campaign plan to address the drug problem. And let's be honest, it's our border where the fentanyl and the drugs are coming across, and that means Mexico. So I think at a minimum, there's got to be training going on, by U.S. Special Operations Forces. Are we there at the point where we're going kinetic yet? Well, probably not, but I wouldn't say that's out of the realm of possibility down the road.
So what did you learn at the conference? I had heard some things about it, but where is the focus of the cyber community, and what do they think? Are they optimistic that we can handle this threat, or what?
I guess being, I'm a counterterrorism guy, not a cyber guy.
Yeah.
But and it was multiple briefs, multiple presentations. The level of cyber attacks that are happening on businesses, it's something like every 14 seconds, a malware ransomware is put out. And yesterday's panel had a 2-hour like back-to-back panel and discussion on the topic of how they resolve, and it's eerily similar. I talked to this guy, David Goodman, who actually might probably be a good guy to have on your show. His whole mission is he's like a hostage negotiator for ransomware, where they get these, and a lot of these actors are from Eastern Europe, right? They will hit a company, they'll put in a system, and they will ransom. And I asked him, I said, well, can you barter it? Can you negotiate down? He said, absolutely. I said, well, what is the average initial ask, and then what do you guys usually pay out? And it was exactly the same way hostage negotiation goes in the kidnap and ransom world. Well, typically the group who grabs the individual will demand an exorbitant sum, say $5 million. And they generally settle ultimately for about 10%. And that was what this guy's experience was. And he said, if you settle too early or settle too soon, you'll get hit again. So it's so similar how the criminal mind works. If it's a terrorist group like Al Qaeda, a narco-terrorist group like the cartels, or just people that are extorting you for money by putting in a system that's going to expose all your personal data or company data or clients' data, which say like a server like T-Mobile, where all your credit card information and personal information is going to be released. And these attacks are happening constantly. And it's amazing how cities, and in fact, one of the panelists, she was a deputy mayor of a suburb of New York, a big town, Suffolk, and it hit the news. This thing hit the news, but it took them. They were without email for 6 weeks. They weren't getting. Had to put everyone almost on 12-hour shifts. It was just incredible how a ransomware attack can not only affect a business, but can literally target a city. And it's kind of a scale for, like, I guess one of the big things for long term, if indeed, take, for example, China, they brought up the Taiwan issue. If China, which has claimed that by 2027 they're going to take Taiwan back, that they're going to attack the grid in the United States. And you've heard about those water plants. I mean, 60 Minutes had a profile that if China knows that it's critical for them to execute their takeover of Taiwan before the U.S. can respond. So we can expect attacks on the grid, like what happened in Suffolk, to slow roll the U.S. to be inner focused and not focus on the outer threat. And I think, again, that's going to be the new warfare we'll be dealing with in the future.
Wow, that's frightening to say the least, and it's coming, I think. So last question, what are you up to, man? What's going on with Dan O'Shea? And are you, where can people follow you, find you, whatever?
I am. We're gonna talk next week. I want to and do it offline probably about bringing on board an expansion with AFP on maybe a national security podcast, a more like weekly and a specified topic. But let's have that conversation offline, and then obviously having back on, maybe a little bit more regular. But let's talk about where we can go in the future, because I think it's important to be getting these voices out. Made some tremendous connections with this network, and sharing these lessons learned with national security professionals is critical. And I think your audience will be fascinated on the level of just a set of business cards I collected in the last 48 hours. We probably have 5 or 6 shows that would make a fascinating hour on a podcast.
Outstanding. Look forward to it, and I love your insight. Thank you so much, Commander. We'll have you back.
Okay, take care, Todd. Have a great day, guys.
All right.
I'm a naturopathic doctor. We are in the world of medicine very acquainted with many modalities, but probably the one most familiar with everybody would be 2 things: homeopathy and herbs, maybe some nutrients too, vitamins, minerals, that kind of thing. Now, we do know a lot about the drugs because we have to find out what drug you're taking affects you and what nutrient it depletes you of, because most every drug pharmacy product will deplete something. So we have been trained, and we have a database that we can check into that says this is going to take your B12 away. The pharmaceutical company cannot patent organic substances made by the body. You're not born short of Advil. You're not born short of Ritalin.
Yeah.
You can be born short of insulin, right? Mm-hmm. The answers to staying healthy and keeping away from even SARS or any of those things getting into you is staying healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You and I get sick because our terrain gets out of balance. Well, that's the same thing in the soil. You and I are made from this thing called dirt. And when we get out of balance, we have the same thing happen. Weeds start to grow in our body. Right? And that's what we want in our body. We want nutrients that we don't understand how to get well enough yet, because our suppliers are lacking knowledge on nutrient density foods.
So this is what drove you to develop this, was your knowledge of this, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. You know that.
I'm excited to announce that we're having a huge sale on overstock and brand new products. For example, My Pillow Percale bed sheets, every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. Our Percale bed sheets are breathable, cool and crisp, and they're perfect for spring and summer. And check out Rev 7, the next generation of energy drinks. It tastes great, and it gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. Best of all, it's actually good for you. And for a limited time, try our 3-pack absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs, or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88. Twin size, full size, queen size, king sizes, all $29.88. Inventory is extremely limited at this price, so order now.
Welcome back to the SCIF. A few things on sponsors. Nucleo Boost, check it out. I'm in the Middle East. I got my capsules with me. and it's keeping me going. The stamina that we need on these trips is pretty amazing. We were moving 48 hours with no sleep, essentially from Beirut up through Europe and in direct into some conferences and meetings, and just really having that stamina with your cells having everything they need with the micronutrition is really, really helpful. So go to cdmnutrition.com. That's cdmnutrition.com, and you can find out everything about Nucleo Boost. And the subscription is cheaper on a monthly basis. So check that out. Also, it's Christmas time coming. The holidays are here, my friends. Go to mypillow.com. Check out everything they have for gifts. Don't go to the big box retailers. I'm telling you, Mike has some high quality stuff. I've been using it for years now, since we started a relationship with them. They let us try all the different products. I love the mattress topper. That's my favorite. But the towels are fantastic. The sheets are fantastic. The slippers, off the charts good. So check out everything Mike has. Look around for gifts, and you'll be supporting free media. Use promo code CDM, and you support us and also support that person who needs a special gift. So go to mypillow.com, use promo code CDM. And the wellness company, was in Beirut and got attacked by some type of insects on my leg, and I had the emergency medical kit with me. So go to twc.health/CDM, promo code CDM for 10% off, and you check out all their kits. The travel emergency kit's one of my favorite. The contagion kit has all the steroids, the nebulizer, or whatever pandemic is coming. They've got the nutraceuticals. They've got the ivermectin cream for arthritis. They've got the weight loss stuff. It's called Drop. They've got the doctor's visits, the online visits, the subscriptions. Just spend some time on the website and help yourself re-engineer healthcare. twc.health/CDM, promo code CDM. So let's run through a few stories, and then I want to play an interview I did early this morning with Jonathan Goldstein from Greenwich, Connecticut. But let's roll through some stories here as we get going before we move into that next interview. This one is important. RPOF, Republican Party of Florida, hidden networks stealing elections inside the Florida GOP. It's just influence, consulting, and conflicts of interest. So check that out at the Miami Independent. That's our Florida paper, which is highly impactful, miamiindependent.com. We've been talking and reporting on the RPOF and what's going on in Florida for a long time, for several years, on the corruption and the election fraud cartel down there. So it's real, and you need to know about it. So check that out at miamiindependent.com. Another story. Obama health insurance to reap billions and donate to Democrats if Obamacare subsidies made permanent. So again, what they're trying to do, and this is the reason for the shutdown, is they make all these subsidies permanent, and the companies make a buku money, and it all goes back into the Democrats, kind of like the Ukraine model, right? You make a lot of money, and then the government pays you a lot of money, and you roll that back in through to the politicians through smurfing, Act Blue, all of that stuff. It's all got to be dismantled. So this shutdown is for a purpose, and I know some people are experiencing pain, but you got to roll with it here because we got to get this done. Next story. I put this out this morning. No new wars. I don't want another war in Latin America. I've done a lot of research recently with sources in Colombia and Venezuela. They have highly trained forces in the mountains and jungle warfare. They've been fighting insurgents for a long time. This won't be a walk in the park. There's Russian and Chinese air defense assets down there for my soft aviation brothers. We don't want a big conflict in Latin America. It's not what we voted for. And we don't think it's about the drugs. The drugs are not coming from Venezuela in large part. They're more coming through Mexico with the fentanyl, which is the one that's killing Americans. So why don't we focus on that? So you can read my article, causing a lot of, angry feedback. But you know what? We just tell the truth. That's the way we roll here. Also, on Tsarism.com, our Eastern European site, a cauldron in Povrovsk, as the Russians close in and to taking this key logistics hub for the Ukrainian armed forces. Not looking good there. And I think this is why Zelensky is pushing so hard, as Pete Blaber and I have said, for a ceasefire along the current lines so that they can get a breather and regroup. The Russians aren't going to let them do that. We need a ceasefire agreement, and we need killing to end, as we've said over and over and over on our show. This one's important. 21st century battleship. You can find this on armedforces.press. Trump wants the battleship back. There are some concepts out there. If you're interested in the naval aspect of things, this is a fantastic article by Commander Salamander on the new battleship and what it may look like and what its role may be and what kind of armaments it would have. So this one, again, you're not going to hear that in most places, but you'll hear it here. We've talked about the RPOF. One more on the military scene. U.S. officials in the Trump administration are moving on to military bases in the D.C. area to protect themselves from attack, from terror, from violence, from intrusive demonstrations. And this is Kristi Noem and several others, Marco Rubio, have moved on to military installations for security. So we'll monitor that situation and bring you more as we see it. Let me make sure we got everything here. Yes, I think we did. So we'll take another break and we'll come back and we'll play Jonathan Goldstein. I think you'll really like him. So here we go.
Well, in the case of hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, these are two medications that have been FDA approved for use in humans for decades. They are very, very inexpensive. Interestingly, available over the counter in almost every other country other than the US and Canada. You can just walk into a pharmacy and buy them like we buy Tylenol in much of the world because they're that safe. And we've known for decades that ivermectin has very strong antiviral properties. It has anti-inflammatory properties, and both ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are what we call zinc ionophores. They help to move zinc from the bloodstream into the cell, which is where it needs to be in order to fight off a virus. So lots of application for these, and we have every reason to believe that those drugs also will likely have some efficacy against H5N1 or a number of other respiratory viruses that we may meet down the road.
If you haven't noticed, gold has reached a new high, all-time highs actually, and keeps going up every day. Why is that? It's because precious metals are a long-time historical store of value. And if you own a portfolio and you have assets in the fiat currencies, i.e. stocks, bonds, cash, or whatever, you're vulnerable to hyperinflation, which is coming as our debt explodes another trillion every 90 days. It's really scary. So how do you protect yourself? Go to Advisor Metals. If you look on any of our cdm.press sites, about halfway down, there's an ad for Advisor Metals. Click on it, fill out the form for your contact info, and Ira Bishotsky will contact you and talk to you. It's an easy conversation. There's no sales pitch. He's completely verified by us. He has a regulatory background we've checked into. We've checked with his bankers. We've checked with his IRA custodians for metals, and we can highly recommend Advisor Metals and IRA. So go to Advisor Metals. If you call them directly, tell them we sent you at CDM, and he'll definitely take care of you. But protect your portfolio because you really need to. It's coming. Thank you. Welcome back to the SCIF. I'm here in Montenegro in Podgorica, and I wanted to just make a point. Last night I walked around the square here in the center of town, which is right over here, and just like in Armenia, another Christian country, I saw families out. This is 8 o'clock at night, it's dark. Families, kids out walking around, having a good time, playing, laughing, doing family stuff, very wholesome stuff, entertainment, and there was no migrants. There was no drugs. There was no crime. There was no homeless. It was just very, very nice. And I think what we forget at times what we've lost. These are 2 short videos I just want to play so you can see what I'm talking about. So you can see what I'm talking about. I mean, it wasn't the best photography, but they're having go-karts out on the electric powered little go-karts for the kids. So they're treats, snacks, but no National Guard needed. Just an amazing experience, and I just want to maybe remind you of what we've lost in America. That used to be small town America. It's not anymore. And we're in danger, and we need to get that back for our children's future. Everything we do is about our children's future, and everything we do here is about our children's future and our grandchildren. So I just wanted to highlight that. I'm going to play an interview now with Jonathan Goldstein, who's a friend of the show at Greenwich. He's helped our network in Connecticut a good bit. This is on his attempts to help the Druze in southern Syria, which are helping the Christians. So again, in our theme of supporting and highlighting the persecution of Christians globally. I'm here with Jonathan Goldstein. He's a friend of the show, friend of the network out of Connecticut, Greenwich, Connecticut. Been very active in conservative politics in the state, and he's somewhere else today. What are you up to, Jonathan?
I'm in Branson, Missouri. I've never been here before. It's an absolutely beautiful place. And I'm here for the National Association of Christian Lawmakers conference, their annual conference. And they're just an amazing organization. And here to speak about the humanitarian crisis in Israel for the Druze people, for their brothers and sisters in Syria, and the genocide that took place earlier this year.
So who are the Druze? A lot of people have heard the name, but they don't really know what they are.
Well, this is probably one of the number one issues of what is a Druze. And to most people, they think they're Muslim. They're like an ethno-religious group, just like Jews are. We're both a religion and a people, and they recognize prophets or mentors being, those of the Abrahamic traditions, and also Jesus, John the Baptist, their main, also Muhammad, their main one is Jethro. So they kind of, I would guess the best way I'd say it is they kind of take a little bit from each one of the three Abrahamic traditions and blend them. And it dates back, I believe, to the 11th century. So,
and these are mostly in southern Syria. Am I correct?
That's correct. They're mostly in an area called Suwaida. And then Suwaida goes into the Golan Heights. And so you have a lot of a Druze population in Israel. And they're the most loyal, friendly people you can ever meet. And I would say they have that kind of John F. Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country type of service. And almost every Druze man I've ever met has been in police, security. They're in Israel, they're in the IDF. I met one mayor. He basically said that if you are not one of those things, no one's going to marry you. So it's a prerequisite for a Druze marriage.
That's an important thing.
It is.
So when Golani took over Syria, the former Al-Qaeda member, he got a shave, he got a haircut, he could put on a suit, took over Syria. And the first thing he did was kill 10,000 Druze and a few thousand Christians in southern Syria. So tell us about that and how Israel was trying to help that situation.
It's a very, I hate saying it's very complicated. That's not a political answer like, that's a great question. No, it's a really challenging issue. So there was a massive genocide that happened in July. And at that time, I knew very little bit about the Druze, just like I'd say almost everybody. What is a Druze, right? We just went through that. So and I received a call from a friend in Israel, and he said, we have to help the Druze. And sometimes you feel the call, and I'm at a Christian conference, and the term being called is very deep in Christianity. And I just stepped up. And so what happened is you had this massive genocide in Syria, in southern Syria, in the Suwaida province primarily. And all aid has been cut off to Suwaida. And in addition, unlike other parts of Syria, there's about 18% of the population is Christian. And in other parts of Syria, they're kind of scattered. So in one way, the Druze are a protection for the Christians in Syria. So the Druze are defending Christians as well. The Israelis Druze population, which is a significant, small population, but very important. And I'll get into sort of their representation in a second. But, they rallied behind Christians and they were persecuted even more. And so if you can't understand what a Druze person is, number one, we'll have to teach them at another time. But
Yeah.
if you're a Christian and you understand that there's Christians being persecuted and religious freedom is at stake, as well as humanitarian aid is 100% not there, that your call is to step up and protect people who need to be protected. And so that's kind of the region. I mean, hospitals were destroyed. I get text messages that there's no aid. I mean, and
Yeah.
people need, life-saving aid. So that's kind of the background of the genocide that happened. And, and so you're going back to Al-Jolani, the Golan, that his name
Yeah.
is kind of like the destiny to take back the Golan Heights, which,
Right.
was taken by Israel, or however you want to say it, following the war. So he changes his name. He's an Al-Qaeda terrorist. He had a $10 million bounty on his head from the United States government. And all of this kind of just goes away with the fall of Assad.
Yeah.
He comes to power. He's not elected, and he changes his name, trims his beard, puts on a suit. And what I'll say is, so MK Hamid Amar in Israel, he's Druze. He represents the Druze. He was part of a delegation to the United States. One of the things that he said is, you can't turn a tiger into a vegetarian.
Yeah.
It doesn't change. So,
and there's a lot of videos online, and we even reported it of making the Druze crawl like pigs and shooting them and crucifying Christians, and it's really dark.
And shaving the mustache is a very I'm sorry I just did that, but he came to Al-Shara, Golani, whatever you want to call him. He came to the UN, and there was a pretty decent protest, one in support of him on one side, and then there were Druze also, and they were doing the sign of shaving the mustache. Women have been kidnapped. There's trafficking. It's all the horrors of October 7th with the terror force of Al-Qaeda of September 11th.
It was pretty bad. So Israel actually opened a corridor, and there's video also of a lot of Druze inside Israel wanting to go up into southern Syria and help their brothers fight this, correct?
There's apparently a corridor. As far as it actually working, I don't think it's doing that. Israel wants to be part of the solution. If you heard Bibi Netanyahu's speech to the UN General Assembly, which every Arab nation walked out on in a real cowardice moment in history, he specifically mentioned the Druze in Syria. He specifically mentioned the Druze that are so important to Israel and their service to the IDF. So Israel, I think, needs to be part of the solution. But more importantly, is the Druze need to be part of the solution for southern Syria. And so you kind of have two sort of factions here. Or two ideas. One is a new southern Syria autonomy zone that's pretty much Druze controlled, or they have their own sort of nation state, if you will. Those are kind of the two calls to action, because they're in a contained area. That's one. They're kind of all together. They're very community based, which is different. But again, for a guy who wants to annex everything, I don't think giving up land is going to be an option.
Well, you've got real balkanized Syria. You've got the Kurds, you've got the Druze, the Christians are pretty much wiped out. You've got HTS, you've got all these different groups in Syria, and you've got 2 million Syrian refugees in Lebanon, which need to go back to Syria, which left because of the Assad conflict.
Right.
So it's a problem, and I don't know what the U.S. government's their focus seems to disarm Hezbollah, which is great, but I don't know how that solves the Syrian issue.
Well, so this Druze delegation came and they also met before with Ambassador Huckabee and 8 Druze mayors, and these are all Israeli Druze. And so you're seeing, what's interesting is that you're seeing politicians and representatives asking for something not for themselves, but for others. And I don't think that typically happens in politics. You usually go and you meet with people and you ask, how can you help me? So there's a real, unbelievable moral compass of the Druze. And so they came to the United States. They met with the State Department. They met with several congressmen. We can talk and get into that depending on the time. And obviously asking for humanitarian corridor, primarily, hopefully through Israel would be the one that they want. There's talks about Jordan, and that all the focus being on humanitarian aid into Gaza is a complete, farce. I mean, we know there's way too much aid and it's just not getting to the people because of other forces in power, while people that need aid in southern Syria are not getting it. And as of, I think, 2 days ago or 3 days ago, the State Department issued that they were getting into the humanitarian aid business for Suwaida and Syria and southern Syria to help with about 60,000 people that need medical, hygiene, water, etc., energy. And the other things about in that area, I think about 187,000 people are displaced as well. So the U.S. government is getting into this, and that's an important part of the process. So the efforts of advocating are working. The U.S. needs to get involved, and then we can talk about all the political stuff that's going on with respect to sanctions in Syria temporarily being lifted when Golani, Shara came to power, and what the U.S. government is looking to do with permanent removal of sanctions for southern Syria. I mean, for all of Syria, rather.
It seems like to me, just outside looking in, that Turkey's involved in this region. Obviously, they're behind Golani. That there's tension with Israel. It looks like the Trump administration wants to satisfy Turkey for some reason in Syria for something else, maybe with Ukraine. We don't know, but that seems to be what's happening here, in my view. What say you?
Well, I mean, just going back a little bit more historic, all these borders, they're all ridiculous borders that were drawn up by the League of Nations, and they had no respect for tribal autonomy. And so you're just you're seeing sort of, you can't change people's heritage, and they're tied to the land. And so a lot of this is land conflict. And, if you give someone land, they're planting an olive tree, effectively. Some of them actually, that's part of a tradition, not saying Druze or whatever. And that family is never leaving that land. So that's sort of a challenge. Going back to, you've got Tom Barak, who's the ambassador to both Turkey and Syria. You have a lot of Turkish pressure on this particular region. I mean, that could just be Erdogan's desire to, recreate the Ottoman Empire. And I could say all my Jewish friends. I mean, last time I was in Istanbul, it was about 14 years ago, and it was a beautiful place. And
it's completely changed. Yeah.
A Jewish guy like me can't probably go into Turkey at this point unless I had a protective guard. And that's pretty sad that all my friends that are native Turkish Jews moved to Miami. So you've got this weird pressure on Turkey in this region. And again, I think it's symbolic of the historic, just like, Putin wants to recreate, the USSR. Yeah. It's very similar, but at the same time, there's the ethnic type cleansing that also happens in Turkey looks very similar with these hit squads in Syria outside of Suwaida, where populations of ethnic and religious minorities are scattered. They're biblically, they're in the wilderness, if you will.
So tell us about the political effort that you were assisting here in the U.S. With the Druze coming in.
Sure. I'd say it's more religious and freedom advocacy. It's less political, but, we happen to be able to meet with the help of the National Association of Christian Lawmakers and Senator Jason Rapert, his organization, which has been phenomenal, and he's become a dear friend. He helped facilitate the meeting with Ambassador Huckabee, and then facilitated, a meeting with Senator Tom Cotton. And now the one thing about the Druze as well is, you got to get them to commit to some things. And now there was no going back. And a delegation of two Knesset members from Israel, led by MK Hamad Amar and MK Afif Abed. So MK Amar is of the opposition, and MK Afif Abed is part of the Likud coalition. So it's important that you can see both sides, and they're both Druze. They both are Druze in their background. So there's Druze representation in Israel. They came with a large delegation with some mayors from Druze villages. They met with Senator Tom Cotton, Congressman French Hill, Congressman Marlin Stutzman, Mike Lawler, Congressman Mike Lawler, and with Abraham Hamadeh, who's actually half Druze. His mother is Druze. So he's the only Druze representative in Congress. And they just had powerful meetings, coming from the heart. And again, they're Israelis that, they come to the United States a lot. They're always here in Congress, but they weren't asking anything for Israel. They were asking for their brothers and sisters in Syria, which I think is the most humbling part of this process. Is there was no personal ask, and DC is about the personal ask.
It is.
So and I think when you explain the Christian part of this, Americans wake up because they understand that there's members of their faith being persecuted, and then it kind of is the tail wagging the dog, as opposed to the main issue is the Druze in Syria, but there's a small group of Christians. 17% is not small, but it
used to be that big. I mean, they've essentially been wiped out in Syria. I mean, I've been right there. I was just in Beirut again, and so anyone who, I'm a Christian, so that's my guys. So anyone who wants to help them is a friend of mine, and so that's why I'm highly interested in this, and would love to get some of these guys on for an interview or whatever. I don't know what connections you have, but
I'm sure we could find some. I would love to connect you, and these guys have become brothers. I mean, I just stepped in for the call. I mean, this is just I had very little knowledge of the situation, and sometimes we get into things that we're called to serve, and just develop these amazing relationships, and then so most importantly, I think for the American public, and tying this all to September 11th is kind of a heartfelt story that a lot of talk was on comparing this to October 7th in terms of the Israeli construct. In terms of devastation, yes, it looks like October 7th, but in terms of the devastation and the nature of it, it's a September 11th moment. So we were in DC the morning of September 11th, and now this is not my delegation, but I said, we are getting to New York. I'm going to New York, hell or high water, because every year I spend time at Ground Zero. And so in the morning we were in DC. They walked by the White House just to see it. There's a sign that says Al-Golani is Osama bin Laden. And it's one of these crazy guys that makes all these protests about everything else. So they're the far left typical things, but that was the one that stood out. And we get to New York around 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, give or take. And the National Association of Christian Lawmakers, in an emergency, they held an emergency meeting introduced by Congressman Marlin Stutzman. They passed an emergency resolution to recognize the genocide in Syria to the Druze and to the Christians and other ethnic and religious minorities. And this is on September 11th. And I'm explaining, the Al-Qaeda forces that came and, took down 25 years ago, almost 20, we're now in the 25th year of that. And they're seeing the lights go up, are up, and all the American flags for the memory of those we lost. And I explained that the Freedom Tower being 1,776 feet tall, and that's our Declaration of Independence. And now it's our Declaration of Independence from terror. And the fact that this resolution came out on September 11th, while we were talking about this, it fully joined the Druze and the southern Syria issue with our American September 11th. And I think that's we never forget September 11th. Unfortunately, I think this world will forget October 7th. And so I know that's me as a Jewish person saying that. It sounds horrible, but it's what I unfortunately believe. It's just America didn't understand it. But they get September 11th. And so we have to find ways, just like for Christians to understand this situation, Americans have to understand that there are other Al-Qaeda forces still at play here 25 years later, and the enemy has not been defeated.
Jonathan, we'll have you back. Thank you. I've got to run, but really appreciate you. I know you're pressed for time, and I caught you in between meetings or whatever you're going on there. So thank you.
You started my morning, and I'm grateful for it, and I look forward to talking more about it. Thank you so much.
Take care. Ciao.
celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. Oh, the men will cheer, the boys will shout, the ladies they will all turn out and will all.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I'm here in Podgorica, Montenegro, heading to Belgrade, Serbia tonight. But I want to bring in one of my favorite guests, a guy who has a lot of wisdom locally and internationally, and that's BKP out of Georgia. Great to have you, my friend. Thanks for coming on last minute. I appreciate it.
Oh, anytime. It's always a pleasure to be with you. I always know we're going to have a conversation that we may answer some questions, but some things we bring up may spark a lot of new questions. So it's a win-win all the way around. How are you today?
Busy, man. And I know you get up early and you check out that your shtick is that you know what's going on globally before anybody gets their first cup of coffee. So what trends do you see happening, my friend?
Well, right now the shutdown is all to me. The shutdown is both sides, sides, Republican, Democrat. It's a ruse. Is that what I would call it? It's a setup. I mean, there's no, saving Obamacare. Obamacare came into place in 2010. All right. Obamacare came into place in 2010. We've been since 2010 fixing Obamacare. All right. It is 2025. I mean, Republicans, and I'm a Republican, but Republicans will stand up there and say that they had a clean CR and that all you got to do is pass this clean CR and we'll work together. Then you have Todd, you have the ACA, you have the subsidies. Like, where does that come from? Like, it's out of the clear blue sky. There's a subsidy out there. So none of it makes sense. But here's the thing, Todd. I'm talking to companies small business owners and actually medium business, and they're calling me. Yesterday I had someone, private sector. Hey, my insurance is going up 26%. My insurance is going up 22%. So to lead you to believe that this is just an ACA, Affordable Care Act issue, there's nothing true about that. So anyhow, that being said, Trump finally comes out and says, "Hey, let's use the nuclear option." So Democrats are sitting there. Republicans, if they use the nuclear option, and we can get on to some other things, if they use the nuclear option, meaning they can end debate, because as you well know, it takes 60 votes to end debate, bring it to the floor for an up and down vote. So if Republicans now use the nuclear option to end debate with just a 51 vote, are they saying we could have done that all along? I mean, so I don't know. It's like I get up and that's what I do. I study everything. I call it the deep state, corporate, corrupt, mockingbird media, and what narrative they're running, and they all play a part.
So on the you mentioned the filibuster and all that. What has been the goal on the GOP side, Trump side of the shutdown? Has he been able to fire people? Has he been able to reduce government? I mean, has anything like that happened that you've seen?
I think you will see a narrowing, and there's no such thing as a coincidence here. Okay, so I read about 35 different websites every morning from all the way around the world. Yours, I tag many of those, but there's this company called Axios, and they've done some reporting recently.
Yeah,
and for your question, there is. They're these stunts, and they're stunts that are being pulled off to reduce employment in the federal government and everywhere. This is AI. These jobs are not coming back.
Yeah,
they're not coming back. So they're all on the same team. You got to have the villain in the show, and you've got to have the person that it's all that. You got to have the villain, you got to have the person that says they're doing the right thing, and then you have to have the moderator that's level-headed. But the reality is if at the end of the year, Trump's not been there a year, they can get rid of 40,000 people or whatever, and all the bureaucracies combined. These are jobs that are not coming back. This is all because of AI. You look at Amazon, you look at Target, you look at all these jobs, UPS. These are jobs that are not coming back. You're not going to turn on your TV and say, oh, well, Amazon said they're going to hire next year another 120,000 people. So in the next 3 years, Todd, this goes together. The shutdown, everything goes together, because in the next 3 years, the amount of change is going to be so enormous in this country, and what you're seeing is the real groundwork being laid for that.
Interesting insight. You mean Lindsey Graham's not working for me, BKP? I mean, you say everybody's working for the same. He's not working for the people, or anyone like him. Mike Johnson's not working for me. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Are you trying to get me to say something here? I'm trying to play it nice. I did 3 hours already today. Okay.
I know you have. I'm
trying to play it nice. You know what? Mike Johnson, you threw Mike Johnson out there, and it's just like this, Look, Mike Johnson got invited down to an MTG, which, people are wondering, hey, what's this lady doing?
Yeah,
but Mike
I want to talk about that.
Mike Johnson got invited down, MTG was going to do what is called a no confidence vote, get him removed. Mike Johnson, this is before Trump gets elected. He gets invited down to Mar-a-Lago. I wasn't in the room, but I can look at your audience and tell you what happened. He went in. Trump said, you do everything I tell you, when I tell you, how I want it done, and you're safe. And they made a deal. I mean, I don't want to say to Mike Johnson's credit, but Mike Johnson never goes out there and makes the mistake.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying?
I do. So you mentioned MTG. I've been trying to figure that out for a long time. You know what's going on there?
Okay, I do not have a phone call, a message, a text message that I can reveal. But MTG, I want to put my marker down in Vegas, okay?
Yeah.
There's still room on the Senate side because Trump has not endorsed. All right, in Georgia, folks, we're in the state of Georgia. There's still room. And I'm going to go there first because there's no endorsement. And Trump keeps saying when asked, he keeps saying, well, I'm watching that race. We have three candidates, Mike Collins, Derek Dooley, who Brian Kemp, the governor, put into the race. And you have Buddy Carter, the congressman from the 1st District. Now, a new poll that just came out yesterday from the AJC, Collins is in the lead, 30. Buddy Carter's 20. Derek Dooley has come up to 12. But guess what? There's 38% that say they're not sure. So when you talk about politics, there's no Trump endorsement there. There's 38% not sure, and there might be a lane. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to step out here, and I want your audience to know, and I know you know this about me. I'm not endorsing. I just study politics, okay? So this is not, well, I'm supporting MTG. If the shutdown ends, okay, let's say they use a nuclear option or something. If the shutdown ends and Tuesday, because I think it'll be over because that's when the snap is gone, and I don't think they're going to go that far. But if the shutdown ends, Todd, and MTG walks on the stage of The View, yes, The View, on Tuesday at 11 o'clock, the shutdown's over, MTG will walk on that stage to a standing ovation, even by Whoopi Goldberg.
Really?
Yeah.
So what's her motivation? Just to get into a higher office?
MTG, if you look at everything she's doing, okay, she's attacking men, but tongue in cheek, I'll just say it like this: MTG doesn't hate men. You know, just saying, we'll leave it there, okay? But in her, I'm going to answer your question. Was she looking for higher office? Yes, but if you look at all of her recent tweets or posts on X, they seem to be attacking Republican men. Mm-hmm. And this is BKP. This is me looking at you. I've not been told this. MTG does not like Josh McCoon, chairman of the Georgia Republican Party. MTG does not like Brian Kemp, governor of Georgia. She does not like Burt Jones. She does not like Chris Carr. It's a boys' club. She's attacked them. She's went after them. She got very upset when Sally Grubbs went on Frederick's show. Now, Sally Grubbs is the first vice chair of the Georgia Republican Party. A couple months ago, she got very upset when Sally Grubbs went on there and said, I do not see a woman at the top of the ticket, Senate or governor. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think she wants to be governor. So a little of my money is over here that she might get in the lane of Senate. Now, I study every word. Look at her tweets. When you study the words, she will say, go look it up for yourself out there, folks. She will say, I'm not going to sit back and let this happen, or I'm not going to just sit around, meaning she's letting you know she has something planned. Now, I'm going to tell you this, folks, don't get upset with me. This is the way they see it in Georgia. They consider the 14th district white trash. Now, I've got a lot of friends over there, and I love them, and they can call me the same thing. But that's what they look at the 14th district of Georgia as with Marjorie Taylor Greene in the past. Now, there's no joy really in being in the minority in the House of Representatives. It's really not. Now, a senator, a U.S. senator is different to be in the minority. It's different. But a House.
You mentioned Josh. She supported Josh in the past. Has she gone after him recently? I haven't been watching that.
Oh, well, not by name, but she has been very clear. You can go back and see. She's been very clear on the party. the party. Okay, she has went after the party, so she hasn't went after Josh, because if you're looking and following Josh McCoon, the chairman of the Georgia Republican Party, it looks just like he's endorsed Burt Jones. And, it's just no coincidence that Butts County, I know you're traveling internationally and you got an international audience, but Butts County, Georgia happens to be where Jackson, Georgia, where Burt Jones lives, where Josh McCoon's wife is the chairman of the Butts County Chamber of Commerce. Can't make that up.
Wow. So who's going to win? Who's going to be the next governor in your view?
All right. So there's two of them. All right. I know you don't. I wish I'm glad you asked me these questions, but I wish you wouldn't. Burt Jones, to me, the AJC with the data centers. I mean, they have blasted him with the data centers because he has like $10 million worth of data centers that are coming out of the ground. And we all know about that. The hospital that they're building on the family property, basically with the attacks coming after him, Burt Jones would have a problem in the general election. If Marjorie Taylor Greene gets in the election for governor, she will win the primary. She will win the primary if she gets in. If she gets in and wins the primary, she could possibly be the next governor. And if she's not the next governor, Lord, forgive me on Friday going into the weekend. Don't count Brad Raffensperger out.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
I couldn't help it, Todd. You asked the question. I've got to be honest.
I wanted the answer. So
I
you
got to
think
be honest. It's not Chris Carr. It's not Clark Dean. I don't know. Hard to trust a guy with two first names, but this guy Clark Dean, I don't really know. He's a business guy. Chris Carr is a no. Brad Raffensperger's a no. I'm going to tell you, Burt Jones is not hitting a home run with MAGA across the state. He's not.
Wow.
So
maybe it is NTG. I mean, well, speaking of Mr. Raffensperger, what's the latest in Georgia for our audience on the whole Fulton County ballot issue and the elections in general? I mean, the sale of Dominion. What are Georgians, Joe Bag of Donuts on the street, thinking about all this?
Okay, well, I will tell you this: the 14th. So let me give your audience a date, and I'm almost positive, Todd. Since you asked that, let me give you the big one to keep up with. It's November 14th is when the RICO case will expire. All right. So the RICO case that most of you know all the way around the world against Donald Trump and 13 others, I think, co-defendants from Fani Willis in Fulton County. Scott McAvee, the Fulton County Superior Court judge, it's his case. He gave them 10 days to move this case to another district because Fani Willis is off of it. Now, the best prediction we have, there's not going to be another district in the state take this case because, one, it would have to be a large district, and two, the district attorney in DeKalb or Gwinnett or Cobb or somewhere like that, they would have to go back to their commission and ask for a major bump in their budget, and they're not going to do that. So they do have the right to turn it down. They don't just assign it. They have the right to turn it down. Now, all that being said, they went back in and said, hey, give us to 90 days. He said 45 or whatever. So the point I'm making when you say Fulton County, the thing that I would put your viewers on, focus on November 14th. That's the day that case actually expires. It's over. Okay. Now, the Georgia Supreme Court removed Fani Willis and Fulton County from the case. That was big. That was enormous. But the case is not over. So November 14th. Now, I do know this. Okay. Ed Martin out of D.C. is communicating with the state election board. The Department of Justice, let me take his name away from there. but the Department of Justice is communicating with the Georgia State Election Board because, this Georgia State Election Board asked for help on the ballot images in Fulton County. So things are moving. And the reason I bring up November 14th, I think the Department of Justice, I think Trump himself, they just have to hold it together till the 14th. When that case expires, then anything goes. You follow where I'm going?
Yeah. That's a good insight. I want to ask you a kind of a different question. The cartel activity in Georgia. What have you heard about that, especially up in the mountains?
Cartel activity. Okay, so I'm hearing a lot of and you are too, on is it constitutional blowing these boats out of the water? Well, I did a panel group. And folks, I'm in rural North Georgia. I mean, the Cohutta National Forest is my backyard. All right. And I did a panel group. This is going back now 3 years ago, Todd, 3 years. And I had the district attorney of our judicial district, and I had 3 county sheriff. And I'm going to call their names out, okay? Because it's on video. At that time, B. Allison Sosby was the district attorney, and on video, she let me know where I live, not New York City, not Atlanta, not Chicago. The cartel is here. Gilmer County Sheriff Stacy Nicholson said the cartel is here and operating. Fannin County Sheriff Dane Kirby, cartel is here. Ken, I forget his last name, up in Towns County, cartel is here. So that was 3 years ago. The cartel is, my understanding, is operating in all 50 states.
Yeah.
And you take the mainstream media, Todd. I actually think this has something to do. There's a big window and a big umbrella why we have people like Marco Rubio and others that are now being housed at military bases. I think this is what Trump is doing with Venezuela, what Trump is doing with Colombia. I think what Trump is doing, going after Kensington, PA. I mean, Kenny, is it Ken? Where is that? What, I forget, that bad drug area in PA.
I don't know.
I think what he's doing is one of the most dangerous things I've seen a president do in my lifetime, because, it's not being reported, Todd. 119 people dead in Brazil from a cartel war that is tied to Venezuela, that is tied to Trade de Agua.
I saw that.
I keep saying, why wasn't that reported? Because that is tied to Venezuela. And Trump has said it himself. Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico is scared to death. She is scared to death because Mexico is run by the cartels.
Yeah.
Now, one thing, not to hold you to get to the cartels operating, as you well know, okay? All right, the cartels operating, as you well know, right here in this country. The American people are not ready to see what would happen in Brazil. But if you'll go watch that video in Brazil, cartels in Chicago, Aurora, Colorado, they're weaponized just like that, and they don't want to tell you that. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. That's true. Yeah, no, I think we're in for some interesting times, I should say. What else, BKB? Got a few more minutes. Anything else you want to get out on Georgia or internationally or national?
I want to say this. I've been studying the AI, and I really have been studying it and what's about to happen with AI and what's going to change in the next 3 years. I think your audience, my audience, everyone, what they are doing is, I always say, they're doing the look over here. But quantum computing and what's taking place and how they are going to replace people. I got a friend, Todd, has worked for an insurance company for 18 years. This lady worked for an insurance company for 18 years. She's processed claims, for 18 years. Every claim you could think of, the tree hitting the house, whatever. And she tells me the other day, she calls me the other day and she said, look, let me tell you what's going on. Every one of these companies, medical, that's why insurance, we got to talk another day. But she said, every one of these companies, we have chat bots attached to our computers. And every single claim that I process and every person I talk to, the entire scenario is dumped. The data is all dumped. And what is happening, she said, what's ready to happen? It's in her company, 18 years. She said, where we may have 100 agents, it'll be down to 5. And you'll start talking to a chat bot. You won't realize it. And if your claim is something it just can't process in the computer, it will ask you to hold to speak to someone.
Yeah.
And it'll be only 5 people instead of 100. We're getting ready to see one of the largest changes in this country in our lifetime, is my opinion.
Completely agreed, BKP. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it, man. You're always a wealth of information, and we'll have you back soon. And enjoy your weekend.
Anytime, you too, and stay safe wherever you're at. I know you're always traveling. God bless you. Stay safe. I appreciate you.
All right, take care, man. Ciao.
Watching my friends gain more and more weight, and then eventually I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke, I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back. Cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
I'm David Cross, and you may know me from my election integrity work, but I also own U.S. Asset Management, an investment advisory practice. I've been an advisor for nearly 30 years, and one of the questions I get asked most frequently is, do I have enough money relative to other people my age? And while that's an interesting question, it's also the wrong question. The right question is do you have enough money to sustain your lifestyle for the rest of your life? This is a question you should know the answer to. This is what we do. Check us out at us-am.com and look for our big proud American Eagle logo.
We have foot, slogging over Africa. Foot, slogging over Africa. Boot, moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. 7, 6, 11.
Welcome back to the SCIF. A couple things. Christmas is coming. Check out my new, or not my new book, but newly republished book, Currency. Very appropriate for today. It's historical fiction You will love it. Great page turner, but you also learn a lot. The first series, first book in the Connor Murray series, and they're very prescient, extremely prescient. Anyone who loves history or loves finance or geopolitics and all combined will love this great Christmas gift. It's sold anywhere books are sold by historyofbooks.com. And speaking of books, go to the Manhattan.press, our New York paper, top menu on the right side, the Manhattan bestsellers. Click on that. And this is our best sellers list. Not coming up really fast right now. I'm not sure what the internet's doing here. But if you go there, it's our best sellers list, and you can see all of the different categories. It's not loading. I'm not sure what's going on. But it's all of our, there it is. Just slow internet here. You can see all of our editors' picks. This is our answer to the New York Times bestsellers list: adult nonfiction, adult fiction, politics, history, young adult and nonfiction, children's fiction and nonfiction. These are just the best-selling books. We don't put any bias, we don't put our hand on the scale at all. And if you want one of the books, let's say you want Matthew McConaughey's new book, you can check out and buy it from us at the CDM bookstore. And at the top, you can search for any book. So you have a book for business, or you want something for the train ride or the plane ride, or you have something for school, you can search the CDM bookstore and buy from us. And you're not supporting the bad guys, you're supporting us, free media, and we really appreciate that. Also, CDM is on podcast. We're on Gettr, X. We load the show on YouTube. We're on Rumble. Please sign up for our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Subscribe to CDM, and on CDM1 on Rumble. Please do that if you haven't done either one of those. And also, sign up for our no ad subscriptions. You get access to all of our content across our 13 digital sites with no ads. So that's been really successful for us, and we would love it if you could do that and help us get revenue every month that sustains our operation. That's all we have today. I've got to go catch a plane at the airport here in Podgorica to Serbia, to Belgrade, and we're going to be reporting on what's going on there with the Color Revolution against Vučić, and also the Christian community there. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you Monday, and I'll have some stuff. I may be flying Monday, but we'll probably do the show somehow. I may pre-record it, but got to get back to the U.S. But thank you for telling everybody about the show, sharing the links, etc. And we'll see you Monday, 10 a.m., 10 to noon, Monday through Friday on the SCIF. Thank you.